Anora was my favorite movie of 2024, and while I knew that was true the second it ended, it took me a while to figure out why it was my favorite movie of the year. Obviously, it's well made. It's a stylized film, halfway in between Sean Baker's usual 70s American realism and something more akin to the Safdie brothers' Uncut Gems or Good Time. It's wonderfully acted, has a great soundtrack, has pitch-perfect pacing, clever editing, and it effortlessly juggles moods. There's also just the fact that it reminds me of other classic films which follow around a female character looking for love and fulfillment in her life. Films like The Earrings of Madame de Vivre sa Vie, Nights of Cabiria, or Wanda. I don't know why me, as a man, would have such a love for movies like this, but I do. Maybe it's something about seeing a bit of myself in characters who, in a superficial sense, are nothing like me. It could also be that the aesthetics of stereotypical femininity make for great cinematography. All of this is great, but it doesn't explain why it is that when the movie ended, I sat there in silence through the already silent credits, almost in awe. In other words, the movie hit me right in my soul. It did so without me figuring out why that would be until a day or two of reflection on it. Anora is a Cinderella story, and while it obviously inverts the Cinderella structure to express something more cynical about how reality rarely comports to our fantasies, it does so in a way which is almost bittersweet. It's a realization at the end of the movie, one which doesn't leave us stranded, but instead sobers us. I think a big part of this process of demystification happens early. The film starts with a bombastic energy, one backed by its soundtrack. The song leading us into this film, and one which plays during its stereotypical rags to riches montage, is titled Greatest Day. It's a song about reaching your zenith in life, the absolute pinnacle, one beyond anything you thought you had any right to expect from the world. But, as highlighted in other films, like David Lynch's Elephant Man, it's often your greatest day, which highlights for you the fact that everything before and after it is so disappointing and banal. Unlike Elephant Man, which chooses to end the movie on the bittersweet high of John Merrick's greatest day, allowing us to soak in the implications of that concept, Anora dives headfirst into the Dionysian paradise implied by the film's early moments, and the montage which idealizes them further, not even giving us time to reflect on it all. If you didn't know who Sean Baker was, you might spend the early part of the film mistaking his intentions here. Like the Florida Project with its focus on Disney World, the film establishes for us what the paradise of the protagonist is, and even goes a step further by providing that paradise to her. The only thing left for us then in terms of conflict is for it to show us one of two things. Either paradise isn't all it's cracked up to be, or paradise is about to be short-lived. In many ways, the movie actually takes the less interesting of the two choices, at least on paper. Of course, a great life can be taken away from anyone, and for many more, they never get to experience a great life in the first place. Exploring why it is that the great life isn't so great after all, while kind of cliché, usually gives a film a lot more to work with and chew on. What Anora does, though, which proves that the narrative path it takes is the right one, is that it closes the distance between a life of banal mediocrity and a life of greatness and excess. While Annie's experiences in the film are unique, they somewhat mirror the experience we have as people with constant access to social media. Regardless of your circumstances, as long as you can afford a phone and data, you're a few touchscreen presses away from witnessing what the lifestyles of the rich and famous is actually like. When you factor in the high image quality of videos and video streaming these days, it can almost feel like we're actually there with our favorite celebrities, participating in their fun. Unfortunately, we aren't, as if that needs to be said. We all know we aren't. But the distance between us and those who live lifestyles we can only dream of artificially feels as if it's been narrowed by technology, even if, in pure money terms, that gap has actually become much wider over time. Annie's brush with the lifestyle of the top 0.01% then functions almost as an anesthetizing wish fulfillment, one which makes us feel as if we could one day experience the same. Maybe if the movie ended here, that would be what we'd take away from it. Many films that almost certainly have their hearts in the right place, end up contributing to this dynamic, regardless of what their intentions are. When the ideology of these rags to riches stories are imbibed, everybody becomes a temporarily embarrassed billionaire just waiting for the shot owed to them. The freak success of one person becomes almost like whatever the opposite of a scapegoat is for the rest of us. We live vicariously through their 1 in a million experience, somehow making us feel as if things aren't so bad. On the other end of the spectrum, though, a phenomenon that's probably less common, but equally as pernicious, is the idea of a coming utopia, one which will turn us all into millionaires with just a few more bills signed, or knobs cranked. While an improved economic situation is definitely warranted, for many people it would even save their life, the actual lifestyle of the working and middle class, which is what most people are hoping to get away from, will never entirely rise above working at a boring job or living a life filled with disappointment, at least not for the large majority of us. After all, if we were to all experience such a thing, quitting our jobs like Annie does because of this newly given success, where are all the goods and services we buy with our new money going to come from? Who's going to provide for all the diamonds, cars, and trips abroad we hope to buy? What lavish, well-maintained house do we plan to live in when nobody is there to build houses for us or to do the necessary repairs? We're chained to this earth, chained to labor, no matter what. Our own quality of life depends on it. And in order for a small handful of us to live a life of luxury, someone has to provide for that luxury by doing the menial tasks which create it. And while it's not crazy for people to resent that, or even to think it shouldn't be that way, it is crazy to assume that we can all live a life of frivolity, excess, and leisure like Vanya does. Either some of us can, or none of us can, but not all of us can. Unlike films like Parasite or They Live, which make themselves a clear allegory for class struggle by making the lives of their lower class characters so dismal and unfair, Anora eschews that by instead making Annie's life simply mundane and relatably demeaning. Also, unlike those other films which portray the lifestyles of their upper classes in a much more utilitarian way, i.e. the upper classes get to experience the kind of things that poor people are completely reasonable in wanting for their own lives. Our abstract representation of the upper classes shown in Anora live the kind of life which nobody should expect for themselves. Their world is a world without consequence, and Annie, who is nowhere near as egregious in her vices, is still participating in them in her own way, and once she gets a taste of them, she, understandably, feels entitled to them. The easy-come, easy-go nature of this type of story shares a lot in common with the kind of arc we'd usually see in crime films. The best film I can think of to demonstrate this, and maybe this is just because this film also contains an equally amazing success montage, is Scarface. In that film, a man desperate to escape a life of poverty and communism ends up bemoaning the experience of living in capitalism and being rich. Oliver Stone, who wrote the screenplay, loves this dynamic of there being a flip side to every coin, and while Anora is nowhere near that symmetrical in its structure, it does share in this irony. Like with Tony, the moments which follow Annie's greatest day montage are a long and hard fall to the bottom. The world is hers, but that only puts her in the position where she needs to fight all that much harder for everything she's just lucked herself into. The flash and pizzazz of the montage is replaced by a desperate and absurd urgency. The movie goes from being a romantic drama to a comedy thriller, something which helps to translate the absurdity and the surrealism of Annie's predicament to us. The mansion and five-star hotels are replaced by an all-night SUV ride from one location of fun and leisure to the next. None of these locations are exceptionally ritzy. Instead, they're the kind of places regular people spend their free time at. They're places of escape, but not places of excess. As the reality of Annie's predicament begins to set in, the setting starts to reflect this in the form of airports, offices, and airplanes, places that are mundane, unfun, but necessary. The sound design becomes very mundane in turn, even sobering as a consequence, almost sickeningly so. This is the hangover portion of the film, where the initial high begins to fade, replaced by something which shouldn't be so bad, but feels bad in light of everything we've seen before it. The final scene taking place in a car while the snow falls is so beautifully mundane, and emblematic of common experience in a way that's very visceral. The car itself doesn't even belong to Igor. It belongs to his grandmother, a meager symbol of the resources shared amongst regular people in order to get by. This comes to the film's final shot. It would be more than adequate enough for Annie's breakdown to be chalked up to the disappointment she had just experienced, or from the act she seems all too okay with using to reward Igor. But it's important to note that she shows no sign of breaking down whatsoever until she receives Igor's kiss on her lips. What was it about being kissed which upset her so much? Given the way she makes her living, given everything else she's willing to do for him in this moment, you'd expect her to be used to it. Igor, being established as more genuine than Vanya, more selfless in his attraction and admiration for Annie, also kissed her with that same genuineness. If I had to guess why this would be upsetting, I'd assume it's because it served as a reminder to Annie that the genuine things in life always come in the least spectacular form. Whatever happens to Annie after this, whether she ends up with Igor or not, she knows deep down that if she wants her life to have promise, she has to settle for it in whatever disappointing form it comes in. While the film ends with her crying, there's something cathartic in this. Rather than being depressing, it almost feels as if there's a very modest phoenix which will rise from these ashes. Maybe that's what I was responding to with this film. It's a call for us to dig past our outer Annie and to embrace the inner Anora at our core.